Gentlemen.
Yep.
Okay, this is our spare head, and it has the Manley valves with 11/32 Chevy stem size, and the springs are 320 pounds closed, or open, I'm sorry, and at 1.89 installed height. As I said, this is our spare head. We never used it yet. And a lot of these Buick heads have a crack right through here because when they built these straight A's, they built them off of two 4-cylinder molds. That's why you got the space in between them there. But anyway, I repaired it with Nyrod, and I've done several of them like that, and they hold forever. But I had to bring this head in, Marty, so I can show you how to set the thing up that I O-ringed the head with. I use this, over here, Robin. I use this Iskandarian groove, it's called a Groove-O-Matic 100 tool. And it's actually, this part, when you buy them, it's just for doing blocks. But I made this little deal here to put it in upside down, and then you turn the little cutter upside down also. And there's a good video on the internet I'll send you that shows using this in the block, and then you'll understand what I got here. I built this part of it. This is a Harbor Freight drill press, $100. And believe it or not, there's no lateral movement in the head on this. And it works great, and you'll see it set up when I get to that point with it. But we use the 41,000 stainless instead of the copper for the O-ring. And these are some of the shims that are made to set this up. And you'll see that in that guy's video. And then these are some of the little pliers and shit for doing it. But anyway, I'll get this set up in there how I made this to cut them in the head, and then you'll understand it better what I've done there. But anyway, I'll get it set up, and then Robin will video some more of it. Okay, like I said, this head's our spare, and it's already had the grooves cut in it, and I'll show you how I set that up on there. But this is one of the heads that I plug all the holes in, all the water transfer holes, because with that long engine, there's no way you're going to get even cooling with it going in one place and trying to flush through the block, clear back here, and come back through the head. But anyway, I think I showed you that down at Bonneville, the holes that I made in the back of the head, and we run the block and the head completely separate for cooling. But a guy could, if he wanted to go back to the Buick way, you could take these plugs out. And then, this here's my pattern. And copper gas is what you need to use for this shit. But this is one that the impression right here in the gasket was made off of the O-ring in the block. And this tool here is made for the block, and I, like I said, put it upside down in there, whatever, built that. But this will come right out of there, and you can do the block. But here is the O-ring spacing on it, and I put that in there, and then I put all of these in there and line up. It lines the gasket up if you put all of these bolts in there. And believe it or not, it lines it up so it doesn't move around that much. So then after I do that, I take a number 60 drill bit, whatever I did with it, and put it in a pin vise and make these 4 holes at 90-degree angles down in that groove that was made by the block. Okay, so after I do that, I have an index of where to set this up on the head to cut it. This is what you do when most engines like Chrysler, Chevrolet, and all that shit, they have a jig that goes right on their heads. It'll cut the deal, but you know, being a Buick straight 8, there ain't shit out there to do that with. But after you mark, just mark them. You don't drill them, you just mark them. So you got a reference when you set this tool up on there. You can stop it for a second. I got this set up here, and you jiggle this base around to fit different head bolt holes. And then you bolt it. I only put one bolt in it for show and tell, but you can bolt it down in 2 or 3 places here by jiggling this around. And then this here you shouldn't have to mess with, because this is adjusted for this squareness and that way. So you're square to the plane of the head here. And after you do that, you take and you lower this head down with this little adjustment I made here. You can lower this head down till you line it up with all 4 of those marks you made with that number 60 drill bit, which is I think 40 thousandths. You line it up like that, and then you tighten these bolts up. And then after you do that, you actually cut it by hand. You just keep turning this, you adjust it down until you cut that 7 thousandths down in the head for your receiver. And you can measure that with one of them Chippo calipers that, anyway, just stick it right down in there and you can measure 7 thousandths. And that'll be your receiver. And your block will have, I think it's like 30, well, it's 25 and 5. So, and that guy will show you how you use these shims on the block to set this up on the block. You don't use this on the block. I use that little gold colored thing on the block if you watch that video. And all the shit to do that's in that kit. And that thing's $300 and some, but anyway, and this was a big whopping $100. I bought it at Harbor Freight, which really was great. There's no play at all in this little son of a bitch. It has a roller bearing that has no play in it on it, but anyway, you just keep going around that till you get it cut down, going the other way, of course. And this cutter, when I built this part of it here on the lathe to put this fixture in, I turned the cutter upside down. When it's in the block, that cutter's the other way. And you'll see that in that video that I'll send along with us, that guy cutting the block. Anyway, but this head is all ported and ready to go, and I'll never use a son of a bitch anyway. And I would let that engine out there I told you I want $600 for. This head, that $325 cutter, this thing I built, I'd let all of it go for $1,000. Anyway, and you can jump in that International, come out here and get your engine and the rest of this shit. And I probably got some other crap I want to get rid of. But also you'll need to go to a copper gasket like this. And this company will make whatever holes you want, whatever pattern you want. It's Clark gaskets. And I think I might have sent you that information in some of that printed crap I sent you. But they'll make you the gasket any way you want it. But the thickness and whatever that Clark has that in his records that he makes these for us. And this is the pattern here, which would go with this shit. Anyhow.